Hello, everybody. Welcome to our sort of, I guess, I don't know. This particular hangout's a little bit ad hoc because we had a change at the last minute. But today this is our amateur version of Telescope Talk. My name is Tony Darnell. I work at deepastronomy.space, and today I thought we'd talk a little bit about star parties. We're winding down the season for a lot of them. Star parties around the world tend to be held, because this is when most people get their vacations or holidays, in the summertime. That's not exactly an ideal spot or time to have star parties because the daylight hours are so short compared to wintertime. But there are many good star parties, and we thought we would talk about some in particular. My good friend Alex Reinders, who's no longer a part of the Telescope Talk Hangout on Tuesday because it doesn't work with his schedule, sent us a bunch of pictures of a big star party they had in Germany just a couple of weeks ago. Apparently, it was a huge success, and I'll show you some pictures from that. But let me bring up my co-hosts. Here we go. Yes, down right next to me is a new face. It looks a little scary because his lighting is very, very intense. But that is Peter Quinn. He is a fellow Geordie. I say Geordie. I consider myself an honorary Geordie, but he's from the northeast of England. Hi, Peter. Welcome to our hangout.
Hello. It's good to be here.
And you may need a translator because the Geordies are their accent is very interesting, aren't they? Isn't it, John? Below me is John Supple from a little bit further south in the UK. Hi, John.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, he was saying when we were asking Peter to be on, he was like, "Can we get a translator to come on here?" But anyway, so welcome, guys. I don't know. So let's see. Let's start a little bit with. Well, first I should tell you, I hope that I am streaming on Facebook and Twitter. I've been getting some error messages from that. Let me just double check real quick to see if by any chance no, it's still saying it's connected to Facebook and Twitter, but I am on Twitch. So we are on Twitch and I'm on the old standby of YouTube. So you guys are thanks for joining us. We are going to be talking a little. Let me just make sure. Oh yeah, I've got my my live chat up and it's off to the side. So already some people are commenting. Deep Sky Dude, I don't recognize your handle. That's great. Welcome, guys. Is anyone going to the Okie Tex coming up soon? I don't even know about that one. Well, anyway, let's get started. Let's talk about star parties. My experience, I guess I should start by saying, if you don't own a telescope, and if you are thinking of buying a telescope, then one of the things you need to find out about are where in the area are there going to be these star parties. And star parties are a lot of fun. They could be just as diverse as a sort of a intimate gathering of a few friends to as many as hundreds or even thousands of people all camping and invading somebody's property to look through telescopes that somebody else has brought. And there's oftentimes what sets aside a star party from, say, going to your astronomy club is they might have other events. They might have famous people show up, famous amateur astronomers. Sky and Telescope magazine from the United States is usually at a lot of the biggest ones. Astronomy magazine tends to go to a lot of them, and astronomy vendors, telescope vendors, Meade, Celestron, places like that also tend to go to these. So it's a good way to. It's almost like if you're into boats, if you go to boat shows, it's kind of like a boat show, only it's a lot better because these are amateurs, people just setting up their telescopes for you to look at. It's not quite so professional oriented, although the bigger ones, they can be kind of professional. So anyway, let me just start by asking you guys, John and Peter, do you guys have any? You guys are in England. Do you guys know much about what star parties are going on out there?
I know that there's at least one happening in maybe in about a month's time or so, but I've never been to it.
So you've never been to a star party yourself?
No, never.
And now, how come? Are you just being antisocial, or is it just too far away?
No, I think I'm being realistic. I'm in England. You drive 150 miles to go to a star party that lasts for 2 nights, and it's going to be cloudy.
Oh, that is a very English attitude about it. Okay, so well, okay, sure, but don't they also have? Well, Peter, you said you were in one in Newcastle just recently, right?
I was, but I'll just go back to John's point about it being cloudy. And it's nearly always cloudy in the only dark sky, well, place that we have in England, which is the Lake District in Cumbria. Nearly always.
It's
But
okay.
I've been to a star party. It was with Sunderland Astronomical Society. One or two may know the runner of that particular society. He's called Michael Tweedy, and he invited us out there one night a couple of years ago out to Northumberland Park in North Shields, which is a very big port. I can get the ferry to Holland, but gloriously dark, no skies, nothing. Start of winter, which is just about perfect,
Yeah.
And I could see double star. I saw the International Space Station go over, and this is because you were just there and looking.
Yeah, that's probably
people are letting people look through their telescopes or look at their equipment. And there was a talk in the community centre and that sort of thing. And if you wanted food, they had snacks and refreshments on,
Okay.
It was nice and easy going.
Well, I suppose if nothing else, you can get the camaraderie of a star party. But I don't know, maybe we're just spoiled here in the United States, because here we have a large geographic area. Now, where I live in the southeast in Florida, it's not ideal weather conditions all the time, but I can tell you in the wintertime, especially around between November and, well, not actually between next month, October, and through February, we get some really, really good skies here. So we're coming up on our best season for looking at the night sky in the southeast, and I'm hoping to get some equipment to maybe do some live streams from here during that time, but more on that later. But the when it comes to star parties, we have several big ones. And we also have something called the American Southwest, where nothing, and I'm telling you, nothing is better for observing the sky than in the western part of the United States. One of my first jobs was it was in Alamogordo, New Mexico, at the International Space Hall of Fame, and they have a Clyde Tombaugh Planetarium there. This was 1981, and that was my first job, and I was able to I packed up all my stuff in an old 1966 Dodge van, drove down there, got there at about 6:30 in the evening on a fall night. It was a late fall, and I got out of the van, turned around and looked west, and over the mountains was the most beautiful sunset I had ever seen. It actually took my breath away. And then it got dark, and the stars were so bright, they cast shadows. I mean, it was just unbelievably great. So the Southwest is awesome, and we have a lot of star parties down there, especially in the winter because of the longer nighttime hours, and so it works out, I think, really great. So one of the most famous ones, let me see if I can bring this up here. I'm sharing my screen and doing all kinds of complicated things, but one of them is this one. It's called the Texas Star Party. And the one that's coming up next is in April 28th through the May 5th. And this is huge. This is probably, I think it used to be the biggest. I don't know if it still is. Maybe you guys in the comment section can tell me if it isn't. But this one is huge, and it is they've got lots of activities. They have almost everybody shows up for this thing. This one has a charge to it. They charge you $80 to get in if you pre-register, $150 if you do it later. But this one, I went to this one once, and it was overwhelming. It was just huge, and most like everything else that Texas does, it's really big. But this was a 3,500 acre ranch, and it is. I just thought it was really amazing. This is one of the biggest ones we have in the country. And you guys in the chat. Let me know about some others that you like here in the U.S. One of the reasons that I think I'm the only U.S. guy on this Hangout is because of the time of day that we stream. I've got 2 UK amateur astronomers, 3 if Adam shows up, and then there's me. So if you're in the U.S. and you know of some other ones, let me know that you like as well. But this one's a good one. And now I want to show you some photos of one that was taken. That this happened just this past or earlier this month, actually. This is from the Rat Star Party, which we talked about earlier. I guess it was earlier this. Was it May? It was when it was before we took our hiatus. Anyway, Alex told us all about this, and here he has some images that he sent from one of the star parties there that just happened. So I'm going to zoom this up a little bit and move it this way so the pictures are a little bit bigger. There we go. Okay, so and I have the URL to the star party down below. Alex wanted me to share this because he's trying to get the word out about the star party.
Yeah,
so.
Poor Alex can't.
Poor Alex can't.
Right. So here's some photos. You can see this is pretty informal. A lot of people setting up their scopes in the daytime. A lot of family members. Lots of different kinds of scopes that you might not be able to get. This is a really nice sized Dobsonian that somebody brought. It looks like it's also got a clock drive on it. And this is what you get from star parties when you go. You get access to a lot of telescopes you probably otherwise wouldn't be able to afford. Here's a pretty good one, another Dobsonian that someone set up. This is a German equatorial mount that I think is a good beginner scope. This one looks like to be about an 8-inch telescope. And again, this is your chance to ask questions. This is your chance to go out and talk to people that have more knowledge than you probably have. No matter how experienced or advanced you are, you probably are going to learn something by going to a star party from someone else. There's just so much expertise here. And there they got a really nice field with a lot of sky coverage. It looks like it's going to be partly cloudy when the sky gets dark. Look at that Dobsonian off to the left. That's a huge one. So a lot of Dobsonians. I think there's a couple here. Well, obviously, here's a solar telescope. Now, this is what you would see if you put a solar filter in front of the sun or in front of your telescope and looked at the sun. What I like about this is that you can see that this is a pretty quiet sun. You don't see any sunspots. In fact, I don't see any sunspots here. And but this is what you would see if you bought one of those white light solar filters to look at the sun through. You may also see this or something similar if you use the projection method of projecting the sun onto a white card. You would see this. They have some classes, some indoor classrooms and speakers. This is something that you always have planned in case, especially if you're in England, right, guys? Because you want to have stuff to do indoors in case it's cloudy or raining. So they have a lot of food and but some old guys. I'm just cycling through these photos to give you guys a sense of what this one was like. Alex said they had the biggest turnout ever of this particular star party, so it was very successful. And they reached a lot of young people. It was the biggest one they had in 12 years. He said they had 40 astronomers and 50 guests plus kids, and I guess there was the lecture that we just saw. So this was a very popular one that just happened in Germany, and again, it's getting dark now. A lot of people getting ready to start viewing. I don't know if you could see on this image here, on the right, this guy is using what looks like an Orion telescope, Orion Dobsonian. I think these are really nice. These are really good telescopes, and I highly recommend them. But you can see how many Dobsonians are represented here because they are very inexpensive. McNelly 1975. I'm glad you brought that up. Let me change my my camera thing here so that we're all visible. Okay, so you probably know about this, Peter. Kielder campsite. I've been there, and it is a star party. Apparently, it is happening in the north of the very north of England, almost in Scotland. There's this place called Kielder, out in the middle of nowhere, where they have an observatory that's just beautiful, and a campsite very close by, and they have something going on almost every weekend. Have you ever been, Peter?
Not to a star party there,
but you've been to Kielder, right?
I've stayed at the campsite and I've been past the observatory.
Yeah. Well,
I used to be a very avid rock climber and canoeist and bell walker, you know.
And that is one of the darkest skies. As you were saying, the Lake District is dark, but Kielder, I think, has actually got a designation, doesn't it? As a special.
I believe it does, yeah.
Yeah, as a dark sky area. And I don't know if that's because...
I was thinking about Kielder as part of the lakes in Cumbria.
Oh, were you? Okay. All right.
It's Northumberland. That's...
Well... The time I went, of course, it was dark, but it was also raining like crazy, and so I couldn't get up to the observatory. But we took a tent to stay in that little campground, and that's where I learned, as an American, I learned about this little thing. This was in June. I learned about a thing called midgies. I didn't know what a midgie was until, and now I'm from Florida, and I'm used to mosquitoes. Okay, but I'm telling you now. Mosquitoes got nothing on midgies. You get out on midgies are these little tiny bugs. They're like mosquitoes, but they bite hard and they hurt. And anyway, we got up in the morning from our tent and it was covered in midgies. And so we got out, we went out, and of course we immediately started getting, killed with those things. And so my wife ran into the car while I tore the tent down, and I mean, I looked like a maniac because they were just everywhere. But that's where I learned about midgies, folks, and that's not a fun thing. But Kielder is one of the better places in the UK to go. In the United States, I'll talk a little bit more about that. That's like almost everywhere has got at least some point really good night skies, even in the Northeast. But you do have to travel if you live up in say New York or in Boston and those areas. But it is pretty. There's a lot of good places to have them here. A lot of good.
I think the one at Kielder is it's the only site where they have star parties that isn't in the south of England.
Cornwall.
Everything else is down south.
Down in Cornwall.
Well, around there, but not around London mainly.
Okay.
Because everything happens around London.
Well, Oxford's quite nice. I've been there, and it's got a little bit of countryside around it.
Mm.
But other than that,
okay. Oh, Mr. Nelly, 1975. You bring up a good thing about. No, wait. Deep Sky Dude, sorry, you have a good comment here. Most star parties are very strict. No inside lights or in cars or campers allowed after dark. Let's talk a little bit about star party etiquette. If you're a beginner and you've been invited to a star party, don't show up in the middle of the night. Don't show up after the sun is set. If you just can't help it, then yes, you've got to drive in the dark. You've got to learn how to drive in the dark because you will get yelled at. Why? Because your headlights are extremely bright and everybody is out there in the dark, has spent at least a half an hour, probably more, getting their eyes dark adapted. And the minute someone turns on a white flashlight or a bright light of any kind, your iris, which has gone from being really big so you can see very faint things in the dark, has just slammed shut. And now people have to, to get your dark vision back and night vision back, it takes a long time. And you've got to, it takes at least a half an hour for that iris to open back up all the way again. And so that you can have the most sensitivity with your eyes and seeing the deep sky. Or seeing night sky objects. So, yes, star party etiquette. Don't be walking around with white flashlights. Don't have a headlight on that's got white on it. It's got always use a red light after dark at a star party. Always. So, that's etiquette for going to a star party. Now, is there beer? That was something a lot of people want to know at a star party. And of course there's beer. Of course there's beer at a star party. In fact, Alex wanted me to say the rat star party that I just showed you something, there was lots of beer. So, yes, there's lots of beer, and everything, of course, being enjoyed responsibly. But nonetheless, there's nothing better than on a summer night sitting behind the eyepiece of a telescope with a beer in your hand and enjoying the M13 or M51, the Whirlpool Galaxy, or the Ring Nebula M57. All of these things are beautiful up in the summer sky, late fall sky. So, yes, and your other beverage of choice. I like brandy. I like brandy while I'm observing. It's the only time I really ever drink brandy. I don't know why. It's just one of those things.
It's a nice warming drink.
It is, isn't it? It's very. I don't know. Maybe I just feel so sophisticated when I'm drinking.
Napoleon brandy, of course.
Oh, of course.
Well, yeah. All right. So,
you must have a cigar as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yes. I wanted to show some other. Let's see. Let me just see if there's a couple more images here. Then I'll stop with this rat star party. But what I like about these images is they do a good job of showing you what it's like to be at a star party. So this one, I like this series. This is nice. So let me bring it up real quick. I know that you guys can't see it, but if you watch John and Peter, but if you watch it later, you'll be able to check this out. Okay. So here's another set of photos. There's only 4 here, so I'll just go through these really quick. So here is it's starting to get dark out. You see the red lights starting to appear because everybody's getting out their red flashlights. Somebody has blue lights set up. That must be somebody showing off, it looks like, off on the left. And more red light. Now it's getting dark. The stars are coming out, and you can see people behind their telescopes with all the red lights. Now, way in the back, you see a house with all of its lights on. That's probably irritating people because they've got their house lights blazing, shining out there. But I know you guys can't see what I'm showing, Peter and John, but this image is very instructive. The star party itself is under relatively dark skies, but if you look off in the distance, you can see that there are 2 cities, and if Alex were here, he could tell me what they were. But that you see that glow off to the distant horizon. That's becoming more of an issue no matter where you go. You can always see the glow of distant cities trashing your horizon. So the horizon is generally in really bad shape at almost any location.
Northumberland Park is in a pretty built-up area. Northumberland Park is in a pretty built-up area at the back of a housing estate. But I live at the back of a housing estate. North. My back windows face north at the back. And all I've got is the business estates at the back. Almost dark. And then it's almost dark. Lights almost. Outside. You can see and way off into a distance, but right above my back windows, it is deadly dark over the weekend because the businesses turned the lights off during Saturday and Sunday nights.
Yeah, it's and because of where you are in Newcastle, you're not too far. If you can get away from Newcastle, if you look north, things are actually not so bad there. I
am roughly 4 miles north of Newcastle.
So yeah, that's my point. So I think you've got slightly better skies than most people would that would be close to Newcastle, even where I was, which was South Shields. There was a lot of sky glow from not only Newcastle but from North Sunderland and places like that. So
unless you're looking out towards Scandinavia on the beach.
Yeah.
But okay. I've walked to a metro station along the coast at 11 o'clock at night for the last metro, and it is absolutely freezing cold.
Yeah, well, that's another. Yeah, that's another thing that you need to do is even on summer nights, is make sure that you've dressed relatively warm, because it does get cool, especially if you're in the desert in the west half of the United States. Even in the summertime, the desert gets cold at night because nothing retains the heat. But you know, if you think about it, you know, if you go out in the wintertime, especially, your body isn't moving very much, and you're not doing, all you're doing is staring at an eyepiece. It's you get colder. You're not exercising much, so you do need to make sure you're dressed really warm. I've always overdone it with layers, but it's better to
Do
be.
not always go by what it says on the weather. Always go to a website and check the wind chill factor as well, because that's what will get you.
Yeah. So Deep Sky Dude, you're on Discord. That's great. Welcome. I hope you'll stick around and chat with us. If y'all are curious about Okie Tech Star Party or El Dorado Star Party, I have many videos on my channel. Go to deepskydude.com. That's great. Oh boy, we should have you on this hangout, is what we should do. And talk to you about some of the stuff, because there is a lot going on here in the States that I just don't have access to. We had a Stargazer Smurf. We just had our big star party called Astronomy at the Beach. Estimated attendance was 10,000 people. Wow. Would love to make
on one stretch of beach or along the whole coastline of Florida.
Doesn't say where. It just says one. It says too far for me to travel at the moment. The Stargazer Smurf lives in Michigan. We just had our big. I guess it's in Michigan, so that would be near the Great Lakes. So we just had our big star party called Astronomy at the Beach. Estimated attendance was 10,000 people. Yeah, that's a huge one. And I'm a Deep Sky Dude.
If you have a star party at the beach, you've got to know which beach and how big it is.
Yeah.
So of course,
how fast the tide comes in.
Tynemouth is pretty small. Whitley Bay.
Whitley Bay, yes.
It's a good few miles long up to St Mary's Lighthouse, and then from St Mary's Lighthouse, it's just, I think it's one long stretch up the Blythe, isn't it, John?
No, to be honest.
Okay.
How many times have I been to Tyneside?
Oh.
All right, so here we go. I'm gonna try and get Deep Sky Dude in here. I'm gonna what can I do here? Can I I'm gonna message him, and I'm gonna send. Okay, so Deep Sky Dude, I am sending you a. There we go. Okay, so I just sent you a Zoom link so you can join the meeting, Deep Sky Dude, if you want to. Tell us about some of these star parties that you've gone to, because I think you've been to a lot more than we have. The last one I went to was the Texas Star Party, and that was years ago. So anyway, if you want to join, if you've got a camera and a mic, go ahead. We're waiting. Okay, so while he's doing that, couple things I want to talk about.
Super Lumio's got a good question, Tony.
All right, why don't you read it out?
I believe the best.
Well, read the question first.
Parties are any time you've got a long dark night, really.
Well, read the question first. Are star parties usually in the spring or fall? Summer nights are quite short, are they not?
It depends what it's like in your local area as well, because it depends on the weather at certain times of year as well. You know, if you've got a nice clear night and it's planned for almost every year during that period, well, make plans for that period.
Yeah. It's usually, I think it's sort of hit and miss. A lot of times you have to kind of make a lot of compromises. So if you're wanting a lot of people to come, having it in the summer is good, because you know they're going to be on holiday and they can make it. But if you want the best experience with your telescopes, and you generally want it to be on a cold winter night where the nights are the longest, and that is the best time to look at the sky, but it's also the most
Early
uncomfortable
winter,
time to look at the sky.
Pretty good.
So Deep Sky Dude, I sent you a personal message on Discord. If you click on it, it should be a link to this Zoom meeting. So if you're on Discord, check your messages, okay? And then you should be able to join it. Okay, so while we're waiting and see if he joins up, let me just let you know about a couple of things that are coming down the pike for Telescope Talk. So one of the reasons that we are kind of scrambling today is my guest for today had to reschedule for later in the week. Now, I was going to have Dustin Gibson from the Oceanside Photo and Telescope on today, and he is in the process of moving his business from one building to another, so it's really busy, but he could make it Friday. So I'm going to have a special edition on Friday between the two of us at 3 o'clock where we're going to talk about beginner equipment and a lot of other things. So I would encourage you to join us on Friday at 3 o'clock if you can. That means 3 hangouts in 1 week, but he couldn't do it today because he doesn't have internet at his new place, and so we're going to do this on Friday. So that's coming up as well. Also on Thursday, we still have our Astro Coffee Hangout. Carol is working on the new write-up for it, so I haven't posted the event yet. I'm hoping to have that up later today. But we are going to be talking with astronomers who have done some observations of Eridani B, I believe it is. What is it? Anyways, you've probably seen it already. It's in the press releases about the planet Vulcan. So we are going to talk about the observations of the planet Vulcan on Thursday. So Friday at 3. Sorry, Larry, not 4. It's going to be the same time, just on Friday. And,
yeah.
So anyway, we'll be talking. Yeah, we're going to be talking about telescope. He is the second largest. The Oceanside Photo and Telescope is the second largest retailer in the United States and the largest in the world for selling telescopes. And if you watch Fraser Cain's Virtual Star Party, then you know all about OSP, OPT, and they will, they have these remote observatories that Fraser uses for the VSP. So they're involved in that, and I'll tell you about those also when he joins us. So let's see, dyslexic artist theory on the. Well, that's some handle you got there. What do you do about light? People need to see, but you need it as dark as possible. Yeah, well, you end up learning to be an expert at getting around in the dark. If you use a red flashlight or a red LED light or whatever it is, it will let you see at night without ruining your night vision, because the long wavelengths of red light doesn't affect your iris. It doesn't close your eye up like the other frequencies do. So that's
with developing photos in red light.
Yeah, right. So
it works exactly the same way.
Okay, Larry, everything I do, Larry Keys, is at Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. I have never given you any other time zone. But yes, it's 3 o'clock Eastern Time. And if you're in the Mountain Time Zone, that's 2 hours back. If you're on Pacific, that's 3. So it'll be noon Pacific Time and 1 o'clock Mountain Time.
California.
Everything I do has always been in there. In that time zone. Delbert Freeman, how can it be the second largest telescope in the United States and the largest in the world? Retailer, I said. They sell this. I'm just going by what he said. I haven't verified this, but Dustin says that they are the second largest seller of telescopes in the United States and the largest worldwide. I guess if you count all of the world, he sells more telescopes than anybody. But if you count just the UK or the US, he doesn't. He sells twice the amount. That's what I think he means, but I don't know for sure. And yes, you do have to keep track of daylight versus standard, blah, blah, blah. I know. I hate that. the going back and forth an hour twice a year is supremely irritating. I would prefer it if we just stayed on daylight savings time, but I just say Eastern time because by then you've already, not everybody even changes at the same time. Like the UK, they change a week after we do. We do it a week before they do. So even though we've changed back to daylight standard time, they still haven't. And when we change to daylight savings time, the UK still hasn't. So there's a week or two where there's still a 4-hour difference instead of a 5-hour difference. And so if I just say Eastern time, then that just figures you have to make your own conversion. Eastern time, my time is Eastern time. I could do GMT or UT.
Daylight savings time and on the one time all year round. You know, how's that gonna do it?
Right. So I don't care if it's, you know, I could use UT, I suppose, but I don't really care one way or the other about it.
UTC.
Oh, so anyway, okay, I should use UCT. I know everybody says that, and but
I will.
It confuses me, Hans, and it's
Yeah,
it's bad enough. It's bad enough that I oh, somebody's here. Hey, is that you?
It is me. Hello.
Are you Deep Sky Dude?
I'm Deep Sky Dude. My name is Will. How are you guys doing today?
Welcome, Will, to our little humble hangout. My name is Tony.
Well, thank you, man. This is an absolute pleasure. I've watched you, Tony, for years and years, man, on YouTube, and it's kind of a surreal experience to be here on this hangout with you.
Well,
guys.
I'm glad to have you here. So we're talking about star parties, and I have exhausted what the star parties that I've gone to have been small, you know, really intimate affairs. I went to Texas Star Party once, but I showed those photos from the Rat Star Party, and those are very typical of what I've gone to. Very small, generally a few hundred people at the most show up. So tell us about. You said you're a Star Party-aholic, so tell us what you do, and when how many have you been to, and what are your favorites?
At this point, I think I've kind of lost count of how many exactly I've been to. I think about a year ago it was like 14, something like that. Maybe 2 years ago it was 14, and I usually do 4 a year. Although one of those star parties, it was in Western Louisiana. It got lost. The state of Louisiana lost the state park that we used to have it in. It was very sad. It was a very intimate and decent star party. So it's very sad, but I still do 3 a year. Okie-Tex, which is in the panhandle of Oklahoma, Bortle 1.5 Skies, TSP, which is the Texas Star Party. A lot of people know about that one. I do that one every year. I have since 2014, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And also the El Dorado Star Party, which is in West Texas as well. It's run by the same people who run the Texas Star Party. Much more intimate again. Only like 150 people or so. It's on a small ranch out there in West Texas. Bortle 2.5 or so. So not bad. It's a lot closer to my house than the Texas Star Party.
So you're out west. Are you in Texas?
I'm in Texas, but I'm in the deep east. Like if you throw a rock the wrong way, you're throwing it into Louisiana. So okay. I'm way on the wrong side of everything, basically, as far as the Star Party circuit goes. But yeah, I love them, man. I go out and I film, you know, just people doing their thing at night and during the day, and I post that up, and I just have a good time doing it. And I've been doing it, you know, it's like I said, since 2014, and it's just been an incredible experience. I will say that if you're a beginner astronomer and you have no idea what you're doing, go to a star party. You'll learn what telescope to buy, what telescope not to buy, and you'll meet a bunch of cool people that will be able to help you, you know, along the way. It's a very, very enriching experience.
Do you bring any equipment yourself? Do you have anything yourself?
I do. So when I first started going to star parties, again, I was kind of like, you know, everyone else. I didn't have anything. I just kind of went to my first one. I was on borrowed eyepiece time. But I still had a great time. I mean, I was hanging out with my friends, you know, doing all that fun stuff.
Yeah, man, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, that's really cool to do that. That's a good way to get
absolutely
a sense of what you want.
One of the best ways to do it. Yeah, is to just go.
Yeah.
Don't bring anything. Just go. Bring a tent or stay in the lodging, whatever you can find. Just go and talk to everyone around you and try to meet as many people as you can. Try to find the dudes with the big dobs. That's what I used to do. Just if there's a 17-inch over there or a 20-inch over there, you know, go grab those guys and hang out with them for a little while.
If there's a step ladder to get up to the eyepiece. Those are the ones you
that's
want.
how you know.
Yeah.
And so I've actually moved up into that realm. I just bought last March a 22-inch ultra compact Obsession. And so that's my main ride now. I do have an astrophotography rig, but I just piddle with that. I don't really, put a whole lot of stock into the astrophotography part, but I do mostly visual astronomy.
Why is that? Why do you? Is it because you enjoy it more?
Yeah. I get real frustrated with astrophotography. Getting polar aligned and guiding and flexure and all the bad things that come with astrophotography. Don't get me wrong, astrophotography is great. You learn a lot and you see a lot more, and you can share those photos with your friends. It's kind of hard to share like what I thought of M110 with everyone on Facebook, right? So there's disadvantages and advantages to both, but I like to see those ancient photons, man. I like to get out there and see.
You like to feel them on your retina, don't you? You like to have them babies just touching your retina. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I started
really weird.
I started with a 12-inch lead and worked my way up to the 22, what I like to call the half-meter telescope, because it's just over a half-meter.
You got a half-meter.
Sounds way cooler. I enjoy my favorite objects are planetary nebulas, and so you really can't ask for better contrast than when you go out to a place like TSP or Okie-Tex or any of the low Bortle number star parties. I mean, it's where it's at.
Talk to us a little bit about the camaraderie there. Are people there general? I found the ones I've gone to, people there are incredibly friendly and very open. They're eager to show you their equipment, really.
No, that's a great way to put it. That's what I was going to kind of say, is that people want to meet you. They want
to be friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah, these guys get tired of hanging out with the same old cats every year, and some of these guys have been doing these star parties longer than I've really been alive. I'm like 35 this year. Texas Star Party, I think, is in its 37th or 38th year or something like that.
Yeah.
So these people have been meeting for years, and so when new blood comes in, they're excited. They're like, oh, cool. Like, we can hang out with this person. Maybe they have something they can share with us. And even if you don't, it's okay. You'll hear it at night too, in the darkness. So I've got, NGC blah, blah, blah over here. And so you'll waddle over there and, check it out. And, odds are you're going to see something you've never seen before from an astronomer who has way more experience than you, and that's where that whole learning thing is. But the camaraderie at Texas Star Party, Okie-Tex, all the ones that I've really ever been to is outstanding. I've met so many cool people. I live sort of near Houston, and I've met people from Houston at those star parties that I would have really probably never met any other way. And it's amazing how you have to drive thousands of miles to meet people from just down the road, but it's the camaraderie is there, man. 99% of the people you're going to meet on the field are going to be better than you and nice and ready to share, like you said. So just don't, like we were talking about earlier, don't get in your car and turn on the dome lights or your headlights, because that camaraderie status bar that was there before will start to degrade and eventually disappear.
Yeah. Well, Superluminal wants to know what a Bortle is.
The Bortle scale is a measure of darkness, and I'm not too well versed on the different degrees, but Bortle 1 is going to be your darkest possible, and like Bortle, I guess like maybe 10 is what it goes up to, is like downtown Dallas, Houston, wherever, New York City. You're going to see the moon maybe if you look in the right place, but Bortle 1 is striking. You lose constellation. Even in Bortle 2 or 3-ish, you lose constellation. There's so many dimmer stars, When
I was in Alamogordo, that's what it was like. It was that intense.
Oh, Alamogordo is fantastic. Anywhere out in that New Mexico, Mexico is just dark everywhere. It seems like. I love that area.
The lakes, jet black nights.
Yep, it's
lose.
Well,
what you recognize, from where you live, it just disappears.
You can't see the patterns. The constellations are just mired in all the myriad of stars that you see in the Milky Way. I have a question for the panel here. What do you guys think about the aging of the hobby. Do you guys think, like, you hear in the news all the time that young people, millennials, etc., aren't buying Harleys? They're not buying motorcycles. And everybody's, the Harley owner is aging. The young people today just aren't interested in owning a motorcycle. Is there something similar happening, do you think, in the hobby of amateur astronomy? When you go out and you meet people in the hobby, like we just saw a bunch of pictures from the Rat Star party. Those guys look pretty old. Any comment on what you think about the age of people in the hobby? Are there many young people getting into it?
Well, when I went down to Northumberland Park, there was all ages, from people's children right up to, elderly pensioners. I mean, I'm talking, there was a guy with a rig who was 85, so there's nothing at all.
So you're seeing a wide selection then?
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, John? What do you think?
Oh, one of the local astronomy clubs has a yearly, I suppose you could call it a star party. Just invites members of the public to come around, look at telescopes, hopefully look at some stars and planets.
Mm-hmm.
And quite a lot of youngsters do go to them, with the parents, of course.
Okay, so you're not seeing it either then? You're saying that the young people are just as into it as old people?
Yeah, I think the interest is still there, yeah.
What about you, Will? Is it Will?
Yeah, it's Will. I see the same sorts of things. I see young people coming in at a slower rate than sort of the older, more experienced dudes and ladies. But I have seen a shift in the last maybe 2 or 3 years where you'll see people spending their vacations, people in their late 20s, early 30s, late 30s, spending their vacations at these sorts of things because they have that passion, that fire, that drive to go see or astrophotography or whatever. A lot of these younger guys and gals that are getting into it are astrophotographers. And they go to these sorts of things to kind of get the decent contrast in the sky. Obviously you're going to get better astrophotos if you have less light pollution to deal with. So, there is a graying, I guess is what they call it, the graying of astronomy. But at the same time, I do see a sort of a shift in younger people starting to kind of catch on. And back in the 60s and 70s when kind of the whole star party thing started, because really before then there really wasn't much of anything besides maybe like Stellafane and some of the other more famous ones. But I feel like the privatization of NASA, or the space race, as it were, just like in those days in the 60s when man was going to the moon and that sort of thing, that kind of drove the drive, if that makes any sense, of these younger people kind of trying to get out and get a part of this. And there's so much room. These star parties have so much options for people in our age group, even younger, even into the, when your parents are bringing you out at age 10 or 15, whatever. I see a lot of kids in that age group that go every year. I guess they get off school. I don't know exactly how they work it out. They do their homework out there on the field or whatever. And these kids some of them are better observers than I am. They've been in the game for just as long, and their eyes are better. Their minds are more open. They have less biases, going into it. So yeah, I see both sides of that argument, and maybe the optimist in me is saying that more younger people are on their way in. So.
Well, I don't know about, since I haven't gone to a lot of star parties recently. One of the things that I had done myself when I had my own LX200 was I took a page from John Dobson, who I saw this on PBS many years ago. John Dobson, yeah, he's a Dobsonian guy. And
of course you meant the architect for a second. Of course you didn't.
What?
The architect, John Dobson.
Oh, no, not that one. This was an amateur astronomer, lived in San Francisco or in the California for most of his life. He invented the Dobsonian mount. And there was a show called The Astronomers on PBS decades ago, and he was featured in one of the episodes. And what he would do, he was a member of something called the San Francisco Sidewalk Astronomers. They might still exist. Hope they do.
I think so.
But what they did was they would just set up a telescope on the sidewalk in the middle of San Francisco and show people stuff through the telescope. And I did that in Boulder, when I lived in Boulder, and I set up my little LX200 there, and you immediately get a crowd. You don't even have to be extroverted and say, "Come look through my telescope." Just set it up and start looking through it. And people will pass you off, and they will ask, "Can I see in there? What are you looking at?" Or they'll start talking to you right away. I've tried it every single way. I've done the P.T. Barnum thing where I've tried to get people to gather around. That worked. I tried saying nothing to no one and just look through my eyepiece. It's still got a crowd. The minute someone gets the little courage to look through and to ask you if they can look through it, then suddenly, boom, you've got everybody. And you get bombarded with questions. It's a lot of fun. It's an impromptu star party. And the kinds of questions I would get from those are always, you get a lot of the typical ones that people just always wanted to ask somebody who knew something about the night sky. But there's also a lot of kids showing up. So I do agree with you, Will, that there's a lot of interest in the younger kids with this stuff. But I didn't know that they actually would go out to a star party or participate in something public like that. But it's a fun thing to do with your telescope if you have one, is to just set it up somewhere where lots of foot traffic happens to be. Even if the skies are crappy, even if you've got a lot of light pollution, you can still see something. Hopefully a planet would be up, or maybe even the moon, and you could show people through the eyepiece that way. So I don't know.
It's always the moon.
Well, it's not always the moon, but it would be nice if
unless it's cloudy
or new moon.
Yeah, exactly. Christian's on Discord. Welcome. He's the co-host for the pro version of the Telescope Talk that we do on off Tuesdays. Launchpad Astronomy. I remember that show. Yeah, you remember it was a series. I actually have I think I still have the VHS tape of that collection. That's how old it was. It was on VHS. Yeah. Hans Milligan's commenting, in the darker spots in Denmark, you can easily see the Andromeda Galaxy with the naked eye. It is amazing, but if you stare at it directly, it disappears. You have to look like next to it. That's right. It's called peripheral vision. Do you guys know why that works?
Averted vision, yeah, it's because your rods and cones are more sensitive off axis, correct? That's
right. So the way your retina is structured, the black and white sensors, which are the rods, I don't know if the rods are, I don't know which one it is, but whatever sees various shades of gray are on the edge of your retina, and the color part are in the center. By averting your vision just a little bit, just a tiny amount, and looking at it through the side of your eye, you can see things better, very faint things better than if you look at it directly, because the edges of your retina are more sensitive to those faint photons. So that's a good point. And M31, the Andromeda Galaxy, now's the time. This is a great time to go out and try and find the Andromeda Galaxy. It's in the northeast part of the sky right about now. It's in between Cassiopeia and Perseus. And it's a really great time to get out and take a look at it through binoculars. It's 6 degrees wide. If you could see the whole thing, it would be bigger than, what is that, 3 full moons?
6
full moons. Is it the full moon's not a degree wide. It's a half a degree, isn't it?
It is 6 full moons.
Oh, then I must. Okay, so I must have it. It must be 12 degrees then. Wow.
It's almost like if you hold your fist at arm's length, that's what, 10 degrees ish.
Yeah.
So most of your fists are a little bit over half. I guess.
So yeah, that's close to about 12 degrees. Okay, very good. I guess I had it wrong. So yes, it is a great time. But all we can see when we look up is the nucleus of the galaxy. We don't see the full thing because it's just too faint.
Yeah.
But it is amazing.
And all the stars are dancing around the black hole.
That's right. And it's on its way towards us. Okay, well, Guys, Will, thanks for joining us, man. This is a lot of fun. I'm glad you were able to hop on and help out with our hangout. This is really great.
This was great, man. Thank you so much for inviting me. I come in and comment, every time I catch you live, and I had no idea I'd be on the show right up.
Well, you're welcome anytime. We have a good UK contingent. I had a guy from Germany. He was on too. And my theory, I don't know why you're able to be here today. Maybe you're work from home or whatever. But I can't get any no guys from this side of the pond to join. My theory is that it's because of the time slot. Now, I did get Christian to be able to be on the other one, but we had to make accommodations because he teaches. So we had to work around his teaching schedule to make it work for him. So you're welcome to join us anytime you feel like it. I'll just leave the invitation open to you. It's a pleasure to meet new people.
I love it. Thank you so much. I'll be here whenever I can.
All right. Do you have a YouTube channel?
I do. Deep Sky Dude is the handle. I've been messing with that since about 20.
If you put it into Zoom or Discord, I'll throw it in the chat there.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I put it in there earlier, but I'm not sure if you go to deepskydude.com, it's a URL that just takes you to my YouTube, essentially. And
Discord, and I'll throw it on YouTube for you.
Cool. Yeah, and I mean, it's basically what we've been talking about here, guys. It's star parties. It's I do a few how-tos and reviews. I'm not too big on that yet, but I enjoy going to star parties, and I enjoy even more sharing that with the public because I want more people to go to star parties. I have an agenda, and that's to get everyone out to star parties. So check out my videos. They're long, so come grab a cup of coffee and a snack and watch them, or break them up, however you do your YouTube thing. And it's just me sharing my experience with the world. So
awesome. Well, I'll add your channel to my channel too, so people can learn about it.
Awesome.
So we'll do some, and we should do some collabs or something. I'd love to set you up with a streaming some streaming gear so you could live stream it from wherever you happen to be. But I know the bandwidth will be challenging out in the middle of nowhere, so which is typically where they have
Texas Star Party bandwidth is pretty bad. But Okie-Tex, I will say, I know I keep harping on Okie-Tex, but I'm going in like a week and a half. Their bandwidth is actually pretty good. So I have done some live streams on Facebook and stuff like that, like on my own personal Facebook. But yeah, you're right. It gets a little weird and spotty out there in the middle of nowhere. So that's what it is, right?
Okay. Uncle Bill, my Twitch bot is working. I see you on Discord. You must be on Twitch. So that's great. I don't know why Facebook wouldn't connect. That really irritates me. I really wanted to stream on Facebook and Periscope. Periscope, I think I know why, because they have to do their own thing with their own formatting. They don't do 720p, so I had to. They barfed on my stream. So, all right. Well, I guess we're out of time, so I'm going to go ahead and stop here. Remember, on Thursday we've got Astro Coffee Hangout with Carol Christian. We're going to be talking about the planet Vulcan. On Friday, I've got Dustin Gibson from Oceanside Photo and Telescope is going to be joining us to talk about remote observatories as well as beginner equipment and telescopes. For like I said, he sells all kinds of everything. I'm going to be hitting him up for some equipment myself to be able to review. So I'm hoping that we can strike a deal together in that front. So join us on Friday, 3:00 Eastern time. Okay. And we will talk about more telescopes. Until then, I want to thank you all so much for watching. And as always, keep looking up.